Wakie, Wakie. Hey people, I was trying to backtrack and I got 60 more tabs open. I found this and it caught my eye, so I went to read everywhere it was, and most of the time it was in Samuel here. But it's Wakie, wake up is what it says. V, connect the EYE, connect the I to give work. Open your eyes to I give works. Wake up, Wakie. And then backwards and forwards, the say, the SOY, the say who's, the one who has the say of what's going on. You're the one that has the say, to wake up, the say who's you. Lading, Ladni, Ni is ing. And lading, a bill of lading is a contract that you would give to the shipper when he's moving your goods, and it tells how much of it and what kind of care. Does it need to be refrigerated, or its expiration date, how soon it needs to be there, is all in the contract of lading, the bill of via. And so wake up, Wakie, the say who's you. Lading, the contract of the way, the cacklers, KKL, and then backwards RS, the cacklers, the roosters, the cacklers, AR in Dibber. The cacklers are in Dibber. Dibber is the language of the cacklers. The rooster crows. Wakie, the say who's you lading, the rooster crows. And then to the Vooty Thubaholic. And we might read this as the B-U-T, the booty thubaholic. Thub is your thumb, My dad used to say that right on the job. Get your thumb out your butt. If your hand was on your side and you was watching something happen and not trying to put a hand in to make it go quicker, that's a booty thubaholic. You got your thumb up your butt. What's what? I've been telling you there's a mark in this K, and when it's final, it's a T, and has appointed you what's sit, is, and that's more clue that that's is correct. But this reads, what suit, S-U-I-T, what suit, lengid, hollers is rule. And so what suit, lengid means cotton. Cotton is king. And you can see it in this here, to the plant to give, lengid. Vav, to plant to give, lengid. What suit, lengid. And so lengid is usually cotton cloth, used especially in India, Pakistan. No matter how you're using it, if you're wrapping it on your head or if you wrap it around your waist, it's cotton. Sash, a turban, or a loincloth, however you're wearing it. What suit, the cotton hollers is rule. Wakie, the say who's you lading. The say who's you lading, the one who's writing the contract of shipping. And the rooster, cacklers are in Dibber too. The cacklers crowing, the rooster's crowing. And the booty thubaholic, the one standing around watching, what suit, lengid, hollers, Hollars, hollers is rule. So I haven't read all this, put it in context. This is the last one I ran into after I checked them all. But that's why I'm putting it on the beginning of this movie, because I really want to go back and read this chapter and put this in context. But I found it in some other places. If you just go to this Bible Hub and click on that word "vay," you'll see it comes up often at the beginning, the Wakie. And it's where your word Milky Way comes from, to I, the milk, the way. And milk is, an emulsion, what it means. All the stars, that come together to make each king, the milks. So the ancient Coptic Egyptians would have wrote this like this. The Ve, the connected eye to give, the Wakie. So this eye of Horus widget, it breaks up into 6 parts. You have the inside is the smell, the pupil is the sight, the brow is the thought, the outside is the ear to hear, and the tongue, and the hand, the feel. And so when you connect the eye, the Ve is here, and it's just to see, to smell, to hear, awake. And then this is a symbol of the mouth, and it's the R. And I don't go along with everything they say, but this is a good place to get an idea of a lot of things, this Garner's sign list. Then you see this bowl down here. They're calling it a basket, but you can see it's a cup. It's for holding liquid. And so it's a generic K. K on the right, to give right. And then left, what's to give what's left. And then this T, they say it's a loaf of bread, and it represents T, but it actually means, T is the mark. And so that's when you're surveying, you shoot the center. The mark comes from the center of the planet, the star. Then under sky, earth, and water, you see a circle. It's the sun, always having to do with the sun here, or the moon, or star, sun over the mountain. You see it here, they call it the threshing floor, equal to Egyptian time. The threshing floor means anything after the full moon. The moon is waning, and that's time of harvest, the threshing floor. So this is a sickle, and when it gets real cold, you might see icicles. But then when it has, hatches across it, it turns into an H, the chet, divided, the divided light, colors, the shades. And divided God between the light and between the dark, the hus, the H that divides, shack, each is shack. And you can see that in the Greek too, the shack at whose, O-U-S, the shacket house, and the shacket as, the darkness. So some people might be reading that, the Scots, S-K-O-T-O's, the Scotos. And that would be here in the parts of a column, the scotia, the scote. And it's where the column, is notched out, and so the light doesn't shine, and it's dark, it's shaded. In many languages, the scotia means Scotland, and it means the shaded land. You see in Irish and Scottish and other language, dath means the color. That's dath, and the knowledge is the color, the dath. And that surely has something to do with the shade in literature and poetry, meaning the spirit or ghost of a dead person residing in the underworld. So this other line, I found it in Samuel 10:7, the Wakie. It seems to go with that Egyptian picture, and it throwed a bunch of light up here. When I first noticed these 2 words in parentheses in the Bible, they would always come, with the K after the first one and a Q after the second one, to give and to come after. You can see it here, the Wakie, to bane, give, to bond, come after. So this is to bane and to bond. And I like it when I find pictures like this, everything's almost exactly the same. The first thing you notice, somebody stole his ear looking for a treasure behind there because they didn't understand what the writings were saying. You know, the treasure is in the art when you figure out what it says. But, you know, this is the left side. He's got his left ear. And it's sinister. And this is the right side, the dexter. And so the only difference in these, you know, this is set it, and he's getting him a story pole. This is a Mason story pole. And the only difference here is the side and the hat. And so the writings appear to be the same, but they're not. You have to look closely. And here's the ka and the I to give ve it. And then the light it, you know, the generic light, planet, stars, and then it, the mark, the light it. And this is the same, and they say this is was, and that's because they don't want to tell you it means Khan. The Khans, K-N-S, the Khans were the priest, you know, and it's where control come from. The Khans writ, and they'll say that this is another S or a door bolt, but a door bolt, you know, it was tied together, it's connected, and so it's a vav, it's a U. The ton, the Khans written, R-T-U-N, you know, the ton is the fashion, the Khans' first fashion, and so the first fashion is the hat. And you see it here, it's the same, you know, the nose of the dog's telling you how to read. You know, he's into the wind. And so it's the Khans Rattan, R-T-U-N. And then you see the difference here is the bowl is shaded here and the light is shaded here. And so now it's give divided eye, the mark of divided light. And so this is difficult to read. I find it a lot easier to read in the Hebrew to figure out what these pictures mean. And that's what I do. I read the Hebrew till I find something, I get a clue, and then I search for a picture of what it's describing. And so I read the Hebrew first, and then I look at the translation, and it helps, the signs, and as the occasion demands, to serve you. And so this is the Wakie, you know, to I give, the wake. And then this is Tabani and Tabani. And so in the misreading of the pictures, they've read this, the bayonet and the bonnet. And this is the bayonet and the bonnet. And so that tells me that this is the BNT, the bonnet. And so, you know, in the Hebrew, every time it says the sons, they're the Ben, BN, BNI, BIN, anything with a BN, the bonnet is the sons. And then this one's divided, so you add a H in there, the BH, and the bayonet. And this looks like a bayonet, and that's most likely where the word comes from. They say it come from the French city that invented it, but a bayonet is a socket where you screw a light bulb in. That's a bayonet. You know, a bane, the cause of a great distress or annoyance. A bane, a thing causing death, poison. You know, it's that pool of water that's up on the beach that the tides and waves had formed, where it sits stagnant and dies. You know, old bayonet might look like this. But the vane is also a broad blade attached to a rotating axis. You know, just one leg of a windmill would be a single vane. You know, a feather is like a vane, like a weather vane, depending on which way the wind blows. You know, the vane is the part of the anemometer, the windmill, that keeps it pointing into the wind, is the vane. You know, the vane up here, to give direction. And you see that here with the tongue, the L, you know, to give direction. the vein. The L is to direct, toward, authority, the tongue. And so you have, to direct the vein is listening to the sinister. And then over here you have the bonnet, listening to Dexter. So this old red bonnet, it has the ancient meaning of rebellion, revolution. And they always donned the red cap when it was time to rebel, the Phrygian cap. It's ancient. It didn't have to be in color. The style of it lets you know that it was red. And so this is something that changed. They have the hats reversed. But best chances are that it has a deeper meaning, and I have to read the rest of that chapter to get to it. So this is Wakie, to bane or bayonet, and to bon or the bonnet. The hat, H-A-T-W-T, the hat what? The sign is the hat what? The Allah, the A-L-L-E, the Allah, the God like. What the Allah like? The Wakie, the bayonet, the bonnet, the hat what? The Allah like. Who's let? You see the little marks here? I believe that pronounces K, and it still means of give, and who like, and who's let. And it still means of give, but it's pronounced let. And so this next word starts at A, so you read it backwards. It's the let-rs, the letters. Whose letters? And then a little mark here tells you to read it back the other way, so it's a R-A-S-A, Rosa. Whose letters read? And then times, TMX, you can see here, T-I-M-S. TMX is read, T-M-T-S. The time it's some tax, said it. The time it's some tax, said it. The tax, T-A-T-S-A-I-D, to set it. And set it, is the hand that gives. The time it's some tax, said it to give. And that's here, the hand, I-D, to give, the hand to give, the hand it. And he's handing it the story pole. And so this story pole is what masons use to keep everything level. So all these symbols have meanings. You set a story pole up on each corner of your building, and you pull strings across it and lay your brick to the string. Time it's some tax, said it give. Said it give. Hail is Amic. Hail is where you come from. Where are you hailing from? Where it comes from is Amic. And Amic is study. Economic, the study of the economy. The study of. Where it comes from is study of. And so the the eye to give, to the awake, to see, smell, and hear. The bayonet and the bonnet, whichever one. Whichever one, the hat, what the Allah like. Whichever one you like. However you want to rule, by the bayonet or by the bonnet. Whose letters rosé? Whose letters red? And so at that time, it was the bayonet. The mark of the bane was the red. This is the white. This is the red. So whose letter is red? They say it's the letter N. In a red letter Bible, they say the words of Jesus are red. And so whose letters rosé? The red. The time it's some tax, said it. The time it's some tax, said it. And so to taxa, it's a taxonomy, is to classify. Time it's some tax, said it, give. The hail, where it comes from, study. And so to wake, to bond, the bond they say is the sun's, and this looks like a fertilized flower here. And then to wake, to bane. And so anything ending with an et, the first 8 gods of the Octode, there was only 4 names, and their female counterparts were the et, kind of looks like this with a little egg, and it was et. And that's where, the French et comes from. Et is the feminine. But it's also, the writings, the knowledge, and the feminine counterpart is the writings. And an et, is an attachment. You're attached to your wife, the et. A bayonet is an attachment on a gun. And the bonnet is an attachment on your head. But I'm making this movie to remind me to read more into this chapter. So I'm going to start my next movie out with another one of these Wakies I found. In fact, it was the first one I found that had me go look all this up. You can see the first time it come up in Genesis 12:12, the Wakie, and then backwards and forwards, war, W-A-R-I-R-A-V, the warrior of. You see here in Jeremiah 5:19, it's the Wakie tomorrow, there shall come when say. But the first time I ran into it was 1 Samuel 17:48. So it was when arose, to wake o' muffs, M-F-S. Muffs is them things you put on your ears so you don't have to wake up. To wake o' muffs, the peoples it tie. Not the Philistines, but the PP, the dot and the P, 2 P's, peoples. The peoples it, 2 T's, the peoples it tie. Means the ones you're talking about, the ones that are sleeping. To wake 'em up, the peoples it tie, the red bonnets.
Don't forget, hooty hoot, I won't forget.
Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.